Hello, what we're going to be covering in this video is Lesson 2.8 from App Development with Swift. This lesson covers displaying data. The video is part of a lecture that was recorded in spring of 2019. First thing you'll want to do if you want to walk through this is to download that chesspieces.zip file onto your storyboard, onto your desktop, and then we're going to be using that to create the application. Okay, so let me go ahead and open up the textbook. So what we're actually working on in this example, we're going to be creating the application that we see on the screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add various chess pieces onto our storyboard, and we're going to go ahead and add labels underneath each one of the chess pieces. So that's what we're going to be doing in our first app. So we're going to be using both the UI image and the label classes to go ahead and do this one. So let me just go ahead and so the first thing we need to do is you can go down into Xcode and click on Xcode, so we can go ahead and open it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Xcode project. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and click on the middle one. And again, all the applications we're going to be creating in CIS 165, we're just going to use the single view app. So we can go ahead and select that by default. And then what we're going to call it is we're just going to call the product name as Chess. And the one thing you'll want to do is if the include unit test and include UI tests are checked, you'll want to uncheck those. Basically what they do is they added a couple of unneeded folders that we're not going to get into how to use, but they create them when you're going to go ahead and create unit tests or UI tests for you. But we don't use any of those in 165 or 265. So I would just get in the habit of unchecking those. Otherwise, you get it kind of just adds some confusion to your navigation of your actual project. And then we will click on next again. And I'm going to go ahead. Mine's always defaults to my desktop right now. So I want to go ahead and make sure that I create the app on my desktop so it's easy to find. So I will just go ahead and click on the create command. And now we have our application created for us. So first thing, if you want to use all the real estate on the actual screen, you'll want to click on that little green button, and basically what that expands it to is full size for you. So if you go ahead and click on that, that'll expand it to full size. If you go back in, click on the green button again, it'll shrink it down for you. So that is where you can expand and increase the size and decrease the size of your application. So what we're going to do next is we want to go ahead and click on our assets.xc assets folder. So all you have to do for any of these controls, you just click on them once. So now we have where we're going to actually go ahead and save those chess pieces that we've downloaded. So the easiest way to do this is what I usually do is I just go ahead and minimize, go back in, click on the green button, and give myself a little bit of real estate so I can find where my chess pieces folder is. So I'll usually add it next to where I want to copy those pieces into. And then you can just go in and select all of them. So you can click on the first one, hold the shift key down, click on the second one, and then all you have to do is just drag and drop them into the gray screen there. And what that's done is it's added both the 2 times and 3 times for each one of our chess objects there. So what we have is we have a bishop, we have a king, a knight, a pawn, a queen, and then finally the rook. Pardon me? It's just okay, so now we have our images added. So what we can do is we can go back in the storyboard, and what we're going to create is 6 UI image views. So let me just go ahead. I'm going to increase the size of it so it takes up the whole screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and click on the main storyboard next. So the main storyboard will come up. If you go ahead next to the ViewController scene, if you click on that down arrow and then click on the ViewController and click on the view, that'll expand all of your hierarchy within your scene itself. So right now, by default, what we have is we just have the default information that gets added. So the first thing we need to do is what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and in the upper right hand corner, the furthest icon to the left is our library icon. So we want to go ahead and click on that library icon. It's the little square box within a circle. And then what we want to do is we want to just go ahead and type in image view to search for an image view. It'll come up as soon as you type in image. So you can just left click on that image view and then drag and drop it onto our ViewController. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and resize this image view. What we want to do is we want to get basically 6 different chess pieces. They're going to be side by side in 3 different rows. So depends on how you want to lay it out. I just decrease the size of it so we can kind of get those on there. So one way that you can go ahead, instead of dragging 5 more, you could just go Command C on it, on the image view, and then Command V. Click your mouse, hit Command V, click your mouse again, hit Command V, hit Command V, hit Command V, and then hit Command V. And you can just copy and paste the rest of those onto your screen. So after we have the 6 image views, I'm just going to kind of go ahead. One of the nice things when you want to lay out images, you end up seeing these blue guidelines for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure my images are laid out side by side and up and down. Okay, so, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so everybody get the image views on there? Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to actually go in and add an image to each one of our image views. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the upper left-hand image view, and then what you need to do is you need to go into the attribute inspector. So the attribute inspector, we're going to be using this control a lot, so I don't really know what it actually is. Kind of a thing that points down, and basically we're going to be working in that quite a bit. So what we want to do is we want to go in and under image view, under our image, click on the down arrow. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our king to the first image view. So we've added our king to the first image view. And then if you go ahead and look at, because once you add them to that assets folder, it knows that they're all in there. So anything you load into that folder, then it becomes part of the application and it automatically knows that it's there for you. So if you look at content mode, there's really there's quite a few different content modes. There's a scale to fit, and basically what that does is it scales the image to fit into the size of your image view. There's an aspect fill, and then there's what I usually use is the aspect fit. So what it does is it, based on the size of the image and the size of the UI image, it'll shrink or increase the size of that image for you in that image view. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to go click on the UI image view to the right, and we're going to select our queen. It's kind of interesting because in past versions of Xcode for the content mode, the default used to be scale to fill, but now they've actually gone to aspect fit for the default because a lot of people will use that. In the middle row to the left, we're going to add the bishop. And the middle row to the right, we're going to add the knight. Bottom row to the left, we're going to add the rook. And bottom row to the right, we're going to go ahead and add the pawn. So anybody play chess in here at all? Do you, Thurston? How do you like it? Or do you, Danny? How about you, Omar? Do you play too? Oh, so we got a lot of chess players in here, huh? I know that in the book they called the rook the castle. I've always heard it as rook. Yeah. Some people call it castle and some people call it rook. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and add 6 labels. So what we're going to do is we're going click on our library button again to open it up, the circle with the square inside of it. And then we're going to go ahead and search for a label. And I am just going to go ahead and drag and drop that label. So what we want is we want a label under each one of our chess pieces. So you could drag it out there. You can do a Command-C and then a Command-V to copy them under each one of your chess pieces. Okay, so I've added the 6 labels on here. So first thing we're going to do is we want to select the first one in the upper. I should have did this before. Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to change. I'm going to delete mine. It doesn't matter how you want to do it. I was going to change the font, and the easiest way to do is to change the font in the first label and then copy it, so you don't have to change the font on all the rest of the remaining 5. So however you want to do it. So I'm just going to go through and change the font. But if you look at the first label, what we're going to do is we're going to change under the box underneath text plain. We're going to go ahead and type in king and then hit enter, and basically that changes what appears in the label. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look, if you click on the T next to the font box, basically what it comes up with is it comes up with the various fonts and styles and sizes that you can go ahead and select within your label. So they provide some system fonts for you. And then if you click on the custom button, what that does is it comes up with a ton of different custom fonts that you can go ahead and add to your apps. The one thing they kind of suggest is some of the custom fonts do not work well if someone changes the font size in your app or changes the some accessibility features. So they recommend mostly using the system fonts. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the system font. And then I'm going to go ahead and increase the size, say, to about a 24. And click on done. And then I'm going to do that for each one of my other labels. So I'll increase the size to 24 for the second label, and then I'll add queen for it. And then the one thing that if you centered them the first time and you add a word to it, basically it won't keep it centered. You'd have to drag it over to recenter it again. Then I will increase the size for my third label and add the bishop. And fourth one will be the knight. And the fifth one will be the rook. And the final one will be our pawn. So did everybody get their labels added? So,
excuse me, how did you add the label, the name underneath the?
Oh, yeah. So you would go in when you click on the label, it's right underneath plain. So that second box is where the actual label goes for it. Oh, okay. You don't have to. You haven't added it. Right. Okay. Oh, okay. So click on it here. You don't have that. Search for the little. Just drag it down. Yep. Just drag it off at the end. And then you move on to that second. Okay. And then add the key. Whatever. Yeah.
What's the horse called?
Night.
What do you call it? Oh, horseshoe.
The one thing that I wanted to mention, if you look into some of the label attributes, there's something called lines, and currently it's set to 1. So when it's set to 1, basically what it does is that all the text that you type in a label will appear on one line. So if you have text that's really, really, really long, what it'll do is it'll just keep on stretching the label out on top of your UI or on your application storyboard. So if you want to have multiple lines within your label, you would set the lines equal to 0. So that basically says that you can have unlimited numbers of lines in that label. And then again, there's a ton of different properties that you can go ahead and set. And if you look over to the left, in your navigation view, underneath your view, you can see basically all of the controls that have been added to your scene over there. So you have basically your image views on top and then your labels down below. And once you update that name of what the text in your label, it'll update the view over to the left too. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do before we actually run the app is I'm going to go ahead and, why did that turn off? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and actually under ViewController, I'm going to go ahead and click on View. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and change the background color of my view. So I'm just going to go into Background and select Custom. And then I think I had selected silver before, so I will just go ahead and give it a silver background. So now the background's not the standard white background. Okay, and then the next thing what we want to do is we want to go ahead and actually run the application itself. So in order to run it in the simulator, you can go over in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and you can just go ahead and click the Build and Run button. And what that'll do is that'll start up the simulator for you. And if you started it up, it should, in the screen, it should say launching chess. So basically, usually the first time when you run this, it takes quite a while for the simulator to actually come up. So, oh, and there she finally came up. So basically what we have is we have our little pictures of each one of the chess pieces and the name of the chess piece underneath.